It is March 12th, 2025, and this is Hungover Handwrite. Chad Hurlbrink. I'm Jonathan Sawyer. And oh boy, we're coming off of a big one.
Oh yeah.
Big in craziness, not big in number of fights.
Exactly.
We spent a whole hour getting one done in the early prelims.
Oh yeah.
But a lot to talk about. And of course, we're talking about UFC 313. And we're gonna get into that. We got a lot going. We got a lot going on the show. Not as much news as normal, I would say. We're gonna talk UFC 313. We're gonna go through some of the other events from this past weekend quickly. A couple of fight announcements. We're gonna talk about some owners of big companies not being happy with other owners at big companies.
Rightfully so.
And then we're gonna get on to next week's UFC card. That is, of course, not as big as this past weekend's, but still be fun to talk about.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, you ready to get into to the big results?
Yes, sir.
All right, UFC 313. We're gonna start from the bottom. We're gonna get to the big stuff here in a minute, but I missed this one. TBH, Ozzy Diaz, unanimous decision win over Jordan Santos.
Yeah, that was controversy lined up with that one. A lot of people thought. I was rolling in the middle of it, so I can't really put a whole lot on it. But I read about it, and a lot of people had Santos winning the fight.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people were a little pissed off about it.
Well, going from one Santos that should have won to one Santos that shouldn't have won.
Yes,
Myron Santos lost.
I couldn't believe it. When they announced his name, Francis Marshall put on a hell of a show.
Yep.
I mean, tough. I mean, was beating this guy's ass, and I don't know how he got he didn't get the nod. He got robbed. It was one of the worst decisions we've seen in a while. I don't care if it's a prelim or not. Marshall got screwed. He was beating him on the feet. He was able to do with whatever he wanted to. He didn't really get touched by Santos. A couple times, Santos would throw leg kicks or something. Marshall was just heavy on the hands, dropped him a couple times. Really was doing what he wanted.
It took literally till like the last minute of the third round for Myron Santos to actually do anything.
Yes.
So it's like you just that person just can't win. I mean,
yeah, no, I couldn't believe it. I mean, everybody who was watching the fights with me, they were shocked. A lot of those guys don't even know what the hell they're watching. But still, it's a testament to Marshall got screwed. I mean, Santos, I think he's a good fighter. I think he's going to be around for a little bit. But, it's his debut. I don't know what was going on with the judges or it's getting kind of ridiculous. Like, these are people's livelihoods.
Yeah.
Their records, everything, their dreams.
And Francis Marshall doesn't make that much money regardless, win bonus or not.
Exactly.
So.
But, it could. I mean, he's fighting a young prospect. I mean, he's a younger guy himself, but he put on a great performance. And then, I mean, you saw it on even people behind him, Rogan and everything, like their faces were like, whoa. And they even called it a trash decision.
Broadcast.
The whole broadcast, everybody was booing, and Santos comes out and says, "I'm sorry, guys. It was kind of wasn't the greatest fight." And it goes, "I don't think they're booing you because of the fight. They're booing you because of the trash decision."
Yeah.
And I agree with him. I'm glad they actually shit on him, like shit on the judges and everything, because that was a trash decision.
Yeah, I mean, this is they do that often, at least more often than you'd see in another sport where they're like, "Oh, the ref sucks." Like, they never do that.
Yeah.
But in the UFC, they do that quite often when they get it wrong. Santos, his Ultimate Fighter finale fight against Con Offley, he everything he did landed.
Mm-hmm.
Everything he wanted to landed on Offley, and all of a sudden, this fight, it's like the complete opposite. He couldn't.
Yeah, he couldn't really touch him at all.
Couldn't do anything, and not even that he couldn't do anything. He wasn't even really trying to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
He'd step in there with that front kick and get punched over the top over and over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, you got to change. You stop throwing front kicks.
Yeah, I'll give it to him. He's tough. He took some shots,
Right.
but because I mean, Francis has got some power and some pop, but not necessarily known for his,
No.
knockout power.
He's kind of a grappler, typically.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll say is that I bet the UFC treats this as if he never lost.
I would hope so.
They're going to give him somebody that they would have given him regardless.
Mhm.
Like, they're not going to cut him, I don't think.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Because that'd be real fucking shitty if, like, say he were to get cut here.
Yeah, which we just saw a big round of cuts before this, so I don't think I think he's fine for a while. He'll get at least one more.
Agreed.
Carlos Leal, who, his last fight, horse bleep decision, and he lost. He was on the wrong end of it, and then this one comes out there and
Beat the fucking brakes off of Alex Morono.
Morono. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's done because I don't think he's honestly ever really been that great. But
yeah, I mean he's fought some names and everything, and he's shown some toughness. But Carlos Leal came out and just straight up Terminator. I mean, just walked through him.
He's going to be a tough guy to deal with because, he's not the most technical guy in the world, but he just gets in your face and puts hands all over you.
Mm-hmm.
And
really kind of almost throws caution to the wind.
Right.
Head kind of up and it's just clanger banging, just.
So I like Leal, but he's a little bit older at this point already, but I think, having a name like that on your resume, that's never a bad thing.
No, I don't think so either.
All right, Bruno Ferreira, the Hulk, submits Armin Petrosian after getting get kicked in the nuts twice, and
yes,
and I think Petrosian, did he grab the fence at one point too, or am I thinking of a different one?
He did squeeze. It was like I don't know, it was almost like it was a reaction, just a natural reaction.
I kind of thought,
I was kind of worried there for a second.
I thought Petrosian was winning.
Yeah, I was worried for Bruno. And then he became the Hulk and started getting dirty and getting in his face, and finally decided, hey, we're going to take you down and put big ass Hulk legs around you.
And I'm surprised that he even got the opportunity to take him down, really, because Petrosian he just always runs around. He's always running around.
And he was doing well.
Yeah.
And then final, I don't know, Bruno just said like he got fucking Hulk pissed and got up in there and damn near ripped his fucking arm off.
Yeah. It was quick. Like, I think it seemed like Petrosian was working his way out of there, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Oh yeah, DC. I remember him saying he was almost out, but the crank he probably had on it was just you saw his face. I mean, that had to suck.
If we're talking, what's the future hold for Bruno Ferreira? I don't really think anything's too spectacular. He's just a little bit too slow and hittable. Now, obviously, he can pull something like that out of his ass at any point, or he can overhand you to death. But we saw Petrosian was able to kind of be out of the way of everything.
For the most part, he did land one big overhand right on his face, right to the schnoz, actually, and Petrosian's big fucking beak. And that was, I think that was at the beginning of the second or end of the first, I think. And that kind of, I don't know, gave him a confidence to, okay, I got to get up in there, and got up in his grill and got the job done.
All right, Josh Van, Ray Saruya. This was a, I don't know if this is like, I mean, I think it is ultimately, at the end of the day, good for Van to just do nothing but have to defend takedowns, and your gas tank hold up really well.
I was impressed.
But he just didn't have a great dance partner here.
No. Saruya did not want anything to do with on the stand-up game.
No.
The way he was shying away when Van would throw a punch, it almost looked like a person who hasn't trained stand-up, like shies away from getting hit, like the whole turning away like this.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. That's what it looked like. And I don't know if Saruya just thought, all right, I'm going to take down this boxer.
Oh, yeah.
And Van impressed me. I mean, there was a couple times Saruya had it deep. Like, he timed it perfectly. And Van would just, drop his hips so hard and stuff it or pull out. Or if he did get taken down, he got right back up.
That's what was impressive to me, because he wasn't like super like panicky urgent when he would get taken down, but he would just chill for a minute, get the back to the fence, and then he would just pop up and go.
Yep.
And I honestly think this was good for both of them. I think obviously we saw Van can do nothing but defend takedowns for 3 rounds over and over and over. Have no gas tank issues at all.
No, it didn't look like he was breathing hard.
5 rounds, I think, will be no problem for Van.
Yes.
Against anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Saruya, he just saw the highest level fighter he's ever seen in front of him.
Yes.
And
definitely.
Even I think Saruya did okay when he, the few punches he did throw, because he would keep him straight and he was throwing a jab. But I think even keeping it simple like that, Van was just all over it. He'd just slip and rip the jab.
Yeah, he's too clean. I mean, you saw there was levels to it. I mean, Van is definitely. I'm a huge fan of Van.
Yep.
And
he better get a big step up now, because he's been fighting. Yes, he got knocked out by Charles Johnson, but he's fought Chairez and Durden and Saruya. Like, I know this is short notice, but he was supposed to fight a ranked guy. Let's go.
I think we're ready.
10 to 8, 7 range, maybe.
I think he's ready for it. He's proven he can do it. He's tough. The gas tank is there. We can tell. And the motherfucker can crack.
Yeah. Shout out to Myanmar, by the way. You guys blew up our TikTok.
Yeah, we love that shit. Keep it coming.
So let's go. Josh Van headlining UFC Myanmar, and we're gonna go.
Hell yeah.
All right, main card: Mauricio Ruffy, Bobby King Green. Oops. This was.
I'm pissed.
Wild. I mean.
It's wild, and I'm so happy for Ruffy, but I'm pissed, and I got a bone to pick with fucking ESPN.
Oh yeah, you missed it.
And their fucking app, because I missed it because I couldn't buy the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And as soon as it came up on ESPN was able to update me that it just happened, but I couldn't buy the pay-per-view. Neither could probably millions of others.
This isn't the first time that this happened. Like, I remember this literally happening like 2 years ago with like Marina Rodriguez and Amanda Ribas, when Amanda Ribas got knocked out. Couldn't watch it.
Yeah. And I was so frustrated. And it's one of the best knockouts of all time.
Yeah.
A spinning wheel kick to the dome, and you flatline King Green.
Yep.
I saw people on Twitter saying he's got to change his name back to Bobby after that.
Yeah, well, okay, so we got a lot to talk about on this one. We'll go back to the pay-per-view thing, but this really made me realize that the Jalen Turner loss, where the ref, what's his name? This is what all your hard.
No,
this is where all your hard work pays off.
Oh yeah, I know
like
who you're
Glenn
talking
or
about.
whatever.
Yeah,
that I think was a huge factor for the lack of durability that we've seen for King Green.
And
he's not durable
probably
anymore.
Right? No, he can't.
Now his style has always been like, don't get hit that much. So that's obviously. That helps durability when you're not getting hit.
But as you get older, you start to lose.
When he does get hit, he gets hurt now.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm not saying before the Jalen Turner fight, he gets wheel kicked straight in the face, he would be okay. But he's just getting flatlined now.
Yeah.
And I think that stoppage has really hurt him. He's obviously older. He never gets his stupid hands up.
No, and it's always the chin up, and he's relied on his speed and his quickness.
Yeah.
And it's just
you're not going to be faster than Ruffy.
No.
Now, I will say Ruffy. He kind of gets out of position a little bit sometimes. He kind of like that front kick. He really dropped that lead hand on that front kick and stuff. But obviously he's got time to clean that up. And
for sure, Fighting Nerds get another dub, dude.
Yeah,
that they're on the rise. I mean, just skyrocketing to the top.
Now, before we move on, let's talk about Dana being mad at ESPN and the TKO president, whatever his name is, being mad at ESPN. The ESPN deal is up at the end of 2025. Do we got to go pay for another app now? Netflix Premium?
Might be a Netflix Premium thing, maybe something like that. It could have been. I've seen people talk about ESPN could have done it as like a flex, showing you need us and all that, showing like trying to one up or big brother the UFC by saying you need us. This is what we can do. Your numbers aren't going to be what they are without us. And I'm looking.
Do that? Do the blacking out the.
Yeah, something. It's like almost like they sabotaged it on purpose.
Okay, so that blew up in their face if that is what they tried to do.
Yeah, and it didn't. Yeah, nobody's mad at the UFC. They're mad at ESPN.
No, yeah.
You're your name all over the app, all over by here.
We're not watching on UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah,
we're watching on ESPN Plus.
I wonder why. Maybe the UFC does it through UFC Fight Pass or does their own thing. I wonder why they haven't really tried that, gone their own route.
I think initially, obviously ESPN's a huge brand. And I think he loved the whole like.
Oh, true, and ESPN. I think it helps.
It
being on ESPN has helped grow the sport.
And now every NHL game pretty much, except for the TNT ones, are on ESPN Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Every college basketball game, they're all on there. Yeah. So it's like, obviously, people are going to have it not for the UFC, and then they're going to end up watching the UFC because of it. But now, I mean, they're aligned with TKO. They're owned by the same, WWE. They're owned by the same people. WWE's all over Netflix now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like that, the Jake Paul Tyson thing on Netflix. I know we couldn't watch that either hardly, but
yeah, that was wild.
I mean, I would not be shocked if they did some sort of deal with Netflix or even who knows, any of those streamers.
My thing too is like these things cannot happen. Like I get it. Sometimes things happen. Things get overloaded. I'm not a tech. I'm not saying I'm some tech guru or anything like that. Servers get overloaded, all that stuff. But you cannot have those on huge pay-per-views.
Yeah.
You cannot have those.
And a global superpower like ESPN that
yes
is like the top of the line.
That's a problem like that has got to happen on a Wednesday night, basketball game or something. But the thing is, people, the counter to that is, there's not as many people watching that as this at one time. I get it. Maybe you got to double up your servers or something. I don't know if it was a server issue or what.
I mean, it never happens for like a free fight night.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe, again, the pay-per-views are definitely are definitely more watched than the regular fight nights. The hardcores are the ones probably watching the fight nights.
Right.
I don't know. That's just something that can't happen. As big as ESPN is, you have to be shooting for perfection every single night, especially on a pay-per-view.
Obviously, I don't watch every other sport in the world, but like, they nail everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's why people were throwing out maybe it was like a sabotage thing or like trying to, you want to play hardball with us.
That seems like okay, we want you to leave, so we're gonna mess up your that doesn't even make sense.
To me, I don't necessarily understand the argument there either, but I saw I went down like a hashtag, rabbit hole, and people were talking about it, but
I don't know. I could see. I'm not an insider by any means on this, but I could see him going back to ESPN just because of how big it is.
True,
but I could also see him going over there with their sisters and Netflix or something like that.
Do something like that.
All right, Amanda Lemos beats her daughter Yasmin Lucindo. I knew this was going to happen. I mean, I knew.
Yeah,
this is too big of a step up for Lucindo, and it's kind of embarrassing me because Lucindo's last couple of fights she's won via grappling, and Lemos, who's the Muay Thai chick, takes her down and holds her down the whole time, and in her corner, Lucindo's corner, yelling at her in between the second and third round, telling her she's got to finish her, go out there and finish her.
And
she takes her down.
Yeah, you initiate a takedown.
And holds her down and then gets swept.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, but it was a gigantic snooze fest.
Yeah.
Especially after, one of the greatest knockouts of all time.
Right.
But it was frustrating seeing Yasmin, just not listen to her corner at all. Saying, hey, she's kicking your ass on the ground. You have to finish her. You've got power. Let's start throwing some hands at her face. And I don't know if it's because she's super young and just decided that it was just muscle memory and I think she's just
it's a fight IQ thing. She has more fights than Lemos, but the fight IQ is just not there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot easier to do well when you're just kind of dominating people, but when something goes wrong, then what?
Yeah, she definitely got a little bit of a lesson here. I think for as young as she is, it'll be good for her.
Yeah, she's 23?
Yeah. So I mean, again, it was a snooze fest. I thought maybe Yasmin might be throwing a little crazy, overhand stuff like that, like she's done or anything.
She
but
also doesn't really hit that hard. She's
No.
just not really a great athlete in general.
yeah, I think she probably got used to bullying people
Yeah.
when in her weight class, and then you get someone with experience like Lemos, and she did what she had to do. She dominated her.
Right. All right. Well, I mean, Lemos, we don't have to talk about the rankings too much on this one, but unfortunately, she's kind of stuck. I mean, she's lost to people ahead of her, beat people below her,
Mm-hmm.
and where's she at? Yeah, she's lost to Andrade. She lost her last fight to Verna. Yan Jianan. She fight Yan Jianan? I don't remember now.
I can't remember either.
I don't think so, but she got dominated by Wiley. Like, she's 38 now, I think, 37, 38.
Yeah,
So
it's not. What can we use her as? Maybe a gatekeeper for some of these others. But
Lucindo versus Tabitha Ricci.
okay, that'd be fun. I know who I would take there.
Yeah, or Loopy or one of the younger. I mean, she's got to drop down. She's 8.
Yeah.
She's got to fight down now.
Uh-huh.
Tabitha 10, Loopy 11. Jillian Robertson's fighting in May, so who knows? Tisha, I don't know. Ignacio Bahamondes, Jalen Turner. This
fight made me sad.
and of course we'll talk about this, but if you don't know, Jalen Turner retired apparently.
Yeah.
Very emotional decision, it sounded like.
Yeah. He said he'd been thinking on it since 300.
Yeah.
And, it's really sad. You could tell it means a lot to him and everything. He's just.
I felt like he was doing well here.
I thought he was too. And he made a mistake and decided to get down on the ground with him. And
the crazy thing is, this is Bahamondes' his second submission win. He's 17-5 and only has 2 submission wins.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, he trains with Bilal, which I brought that up
Mm-hmm.
beforehand. I'm pretty sure on the show, but it's not like he's like just he's not Damian Maya,
Uh-huh.
but Jalen kind of clinched, and Bahamondes like fell to his back and pulled him into him,
Mm-hmm.
and then submitted him. And so it's weird. It's like I wouldn't be, if I was Jalen Turner, not if I was me. If I was Jalen Turner, I wouldn't be that worried about him on his back either.
Yeah.
He only has 2 submission wins.
Yeah. And I get that, but I just, that's not your strength either.
No.
So why even chance it, Get up and do what you do best, and you have a guy that's willing to do it. Get up and do it. But I think it also, since watching that, post-fight interview of, him, he was crying and saying he'd been thinking about it, since 300, and he can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And, I respect it.
Yeah.
I hope everything goes well because I'm a fan. I hope you get everything, you're looking for, and you get your mental, straightened out, and you come back because you got a lot to offer. I mean, you're talented as fuck. You're a good dude. I hope you come back, but obviously that's your choice, and I respect it. I think you got a lot to offer, like I said.
I think he's still right in there. Like, I mean,
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
I don't think this was the result wasn't good, but I thought he looked fine. Like, he didn't look any different to me than he has in the past.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this weight class is a bunch of wrestlers, which doesn't help him. But I guess not a bunch of wrestlers, but guys that can grapple.
Mm-hmm. And
It's
he's fought some.
It's a tough weight class.
Yeah, it's a tough weight class. He's fought some killers.
Yeah. Bahamondes, he obviously moves into the rankings. This is one thing about and this isn't, most people don't study the rankings every week, but we've talked about the rankings before. This isn't rare, really, but like Benoit Saint Denis just jumps 2 spots this week, and Bahamondes jumps into 15. Benoit from 15 to 13. So that's kind of makes no sense really, but that happens almost every week. Somebody moves around that didn't fight. What's next for Bahamondes? Because again, we say this every time. This is a weight class that they're not just giving people chances at their spot. Everyone's always wanting to go up.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Let's see. If he really wants to go after somebody, go after Marcano. That's a good one. I could see
feed Dariush to him.
you could do that. Who was it that? I think he called out Dariush.
Did he?
Was it him that called out Dariush and said that I want to fight him? I think he did. I think he did say that I want to fight him. Someone did, and I'm pretty sure it was Ignacio.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense if Dariush is willing to do it. Obviously, he doesn't have a ton of leverage anymore, but it sucks that he's just kind of the guy that is supposed to get knocked out by all your young guys now. But no, I like Bob Mendes. He's just now what, like 27.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in the UFC for a while too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I like him.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Tough weight class, but speaking of the tough weight class, Justin Gaethje
came out and did his thing.
I told you guys like why. I told you guys that Fiziev should not be the favorite.
Yeah,
he lost the first time.
Mm-hmm.
He got tired in the third round the first time, and he had a knee injury. Been out for a year and a half, 2 years. He looked horrible in this fight.
Yeah, he had the first round. He had a good first round where it was competitive. Yeah. And I remember when it happened, I was telling a couple of the guys we were with, I didn't think it was on purpose at first. And then watching the replay, I was okay, maybe it was.
I mean, he caught a kick or something, right? And kind of.
And then Gaethje, Granby rolled or whatever out of it and all that stuff. But the first round he looked all right, and then he got tired, and then he just started getting touched up with Gaethje and his uppercuts.
Not only did he get tired, but he just, even tired or not, he looked way slower. Like the first fight, he had a good start, like good first round, second round, first half of the second round because of his speed.
Mm-hmm.
He was way faster than Gaethje, was kicking a lot. I think this knee injury and this layoff, he was, obviously the cardio suffered. He didn't look as fast, and he didn't kick as much.
Mm-hmm. And that, very well could have been just he didn't trust his tank either. So, it was, 10-day notice or something like that, or 12-day notice, something like that. But Gaethje came out and did what Gaethje does. Gaethje comes out and sucks your face off.
He got knocked out in 1 second to go in the fifth round.
Yeah.
It does not mean he's chinny.
Yeah.
And everyone thought it did.
No, a lot of people were saying they were a little concerned, what it'd be, but, he had a grueling fight against a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And got knocked out in the last second, So he came out and did his thing. I mean, just put a beating on Fiziev. Just did his thing. I'm a huge fan of Gaethje. I think he's awesome. I love that he's a gamer, meaning he'll fight anybody. Honestly, love to see him fight Makhachev. I'd love for him to be the next guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one around that area. He's fought all these other guys, and these other guys either get hurt or something. If he's ready, throw him in there.
Yeah,
he's the only one that hasn't fought Makhachev.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think he deserves it really, but
yeah, maybe not in the sense in the historical sense, I guess. But
again, the top of this weight class, they don't like to fight. So if Islam's ready and Gaethje's ready, just do it.
Yeah,
why not?
Yeah, I think that'd be a fun one to watch, especially if Gaethje's at the top of his game, comes out, and Islam's gonna definitely partake in standing up with him.
Yeah, and would probably do okay.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah. Islam's definitely. It's not going to be a Gaethje Khabib thing. I don't think. No. Khabib is definitely the better wrestler. Islam's definitely got the better hands. Islam can crack, and he's shown it with who he's fought. I mean, that fight he put on with Poirier, he showed he can stand with the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'd vote for that fight, just because we haven't seen it. And, when all of these guys retire in this weight class, which is not very far, I don't think people realize we're losing
big names.
Some huge names, superstars. And it's going to be a sad fucking day when they do. The guys that are gamers fight anybody. And I'm not saying that none of the guys at the bottom or guys coming up aren't going to be like them. But that's a that's a tall order to to bring.
Yep.
I hope the other guys rise up to the occasion, but that especially that weight class is it's nuts. The amount of stardom and the type of fighters they are.
And everyone's talking about this star problem. The UFC has a star problem right now, or lack thereof.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, this Dustin. We'll talk about him. Gaethje. These guys are going to be gone not that long, and that hurts even more. Obviously, it always comes back around.
Oh, true.
I think lightweight. If there's any bottom half of the division that can rise up and be similarly as compelling, it would be lightweight, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, Fiziev, we mentioned this off air, talking about going up or going down to 145. He's a small lightweight, but he's also kind of like a brick shit house.
True.
That seems kind of tough, but
I mean, honestly, I'm not mad at it.
No,
he's got the speed, especially if he gets back on track. I think gets a good camp in him and everything, and gains that speed back, because I think that's something you can gain back a little bit. You don't necessarily lose it all.
Right.
If he goes down, it'd be a fucking problem.
And this is a weight class that has, I don't know, I guess it has some wrestlers, but guys like Volk and Ilya. Well, Ilya may be gone from featherweight now, but Volk, Max, Diego Lopez will stand with you. Yair will stand with you. Ortega
will try and stand with you.
Yeah, he'll stand with you. He shouldn't, but he will. Arnold Allen will stand with you. Emmett, like these guys will stand and bang. And he's gonna hit so hard at 45 if he does it right.
It's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, I don't mind it. He's a little bit older now already, right? So like he needs to 32, and not too old, but either way, like he's had the big layoff. I would like to see him.
I'd like to let's start being active.
Yeah, let's try to get down there as quick as you can. Yeah, at your best.
Yeah, and he said this weight cut, he's been cutting weight easy.
Really?
Yeah, so he thinks it shouldn't be a problem at all.
It kind of looked like not fat by any means, but he looked a little maybe
a little
extra
thicker.
Fat than before.
Yeah, and that could have just been the 10-day notice.
10-day notice and the layoff and all that, I'm sure. But all right, so Gaethje, real quick, we'll play a little game here.
Okay.
Gaethje, 5 losses. All 5 of them have been in a different round.
Yes.
Round 1 through 5. Do you already know the answer to this?
I don't know. I remember seeing something about it, but I don't know. I don't think I can name all 5.
So for the listener, if that didn't make sense, it literally rounds 1 through 5. Justin Gaethje has lost a fight, just one fight, in every single round. So I'm just gonna throw it over to you with some names of his losses and see if you can put them in the right round.
All right.
So we'll just go Max, Charles, Khabib, Dustin, Eddie Alvarez. What round?
Max, obviously 5th round.
Yep.
And you said Charles.
That
was 3rd round? Or is that 4th?
No, neither.
Oh, Charles is Charles' 1st round.
Yep.
Yeah. Dustin is the 3rd round, 4th round.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do we have? Khabib was 2nd.
And then Eddie Alvarez.
Eddie's the 3rd.
So the
I knew I was like, okay, I knew Khabib was 2nd.
He's lost to some of the biggest names in the sport, and the one that finished him the quickest, Charles Oliveira.
Yeah.
I love that.
That is pretty crazy. I mean, he's fought everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if that's a record that may not be broken. One loss in every round.
Maybe. That is pretty crazy. And it almost didn't happen if for that last second knockout.
Yeah. All right, main event. Magomed Ankalaev, new light heavyweight champion, beats Alex Pereira, unanimous decision. I personally didn't think it was that controversial, but a lot of people did, and I'm sure that has nothing to do with bias.
Yeah, you're probably right. No bias at all. I'm a Pereira fan. I would have loved to see him win, but at the end of the fight, I had it Ankalaev 4-1, with Pereira winning the first.
Yeah.
Ankalaev did, I said, what he should do is put a singlet on and wrestle him. He didn't necessarily do that, but he pushed the pace, was in his face, had him against the fence, and did what he wanted with him for the most part. Sure, people are going to complain it wasn't the most exciting fight, but he outstruck Pereira. As much as people don't want to think he didn't do anything, he almost knocked him out.
Yeah.
Pereira was just so gun shy. He scared of the takedown. He did not want to engage. It was weird. Normally, you like seeing Pereira stalking his prey, getting up there, closing the distance, and throwing that mean fucking left hook. But it didn't happen because Ankalaev was in his face the whole time. Ankalaev kept pushing the pressure and showing, I'm not scared of engaging with you. I'm going to get up in your grill, and proceeded to punch him and strike to the face, kicked with him, everything. Pereira got outstruck in every department except for leg kicks.
Yep.
And sure, they were damaging like they always are, but they weren't. It wasn't the same because he almost didn't even have time to throw leg kicks because Ankalaev was in his grill. I don't know why people thought there was a controversy. Other than the fact that they, don't watch MMA if you don't like grappling, I guess. Go watch Taekwondo, boxing, something else. But I think Ankalaev did what he needed to do, and he did it at a very high level.
Yep. And
controlled them, and Pereira couldn't do anything.
How much is the UFC regretting giving Ankalaev a title shot finally?
Judging off of what Dana's face looked like afterwards, I'd say he's regretting it a little bit. But you got to give the guy his flowers. The guy's a good fighter. He's not known for being a super, wrestler, take you down kind of guy. He strikes. He can knock people out. The fight before this, he knocked out Johnny Walker.
Yep. I think, well, first of all, he's never attempted a submission in the UFC. So
yeah.
This whole, Dagestani wrestler, no, he's not really a Dagestani wrestler. He's Dagestani.
He just happened to be from Dagestan.
I think I think he's just so smart, man. Like, look at Khalil and Alex. So similar start. Like Khalil had some moments. Khalil clipped him at one point early on, but Khalil is a big explosive movement guy.
Mm-hmm.
Pereira, Pereira's not the fastest guy in the world.
No.
But those big explosions, he can have a little bit more success seeing them coming.
Mm-hmm.
And Khalil slowed down. Ankalaev, no tell on anything. No. Everything's fast. He's just smart in and out. And I think the speed and just the fight IQ had Alex not knowing what was going on.
Yeah, he just seemed so tentative, it just wasn't himself in there. And I don't think it had anything to do with, I don't think Pereira was hurt or anything, controversial, anything like that. I think it just had to do with, I finally faced the toughest opponent that I've faced, my entire, at least the most well-rounded fighter I've fought in my entire career, UFC career, and I didn't know what to do with him. I didn't know how to react. I was definitely scared of the takedowns and everything. Sure, he defended 11 of them, but it wasn't like he was shooting in the middle of the mat. He wasn't really chain wrestling. It was all about getting him against the fence, controlling him, and working in the clinch.
Yep.
And he did do his job. And then when he didn't clinch, he almost ended the fight. Probably would have if it wasn't for the bell.
Yep.
So I don't understand the hate on Ankalaev. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm some ultra fan of him or anything like that, but I can respect the kind of fighter he is and what he's done, and he's a champ now. People cry about it, I guess.
So they're talking about running it back already. I'm assuming that's what they're going to do. But they're also talking about Yuri Ankalaev. Yuri doesn't deserve it.
No,
at all.
Yuri's got a bone to pick with Ankalaev because of his disrespect and all that stuff. But Yuri hasn't earned it.
Yuri may get it just simply based on the fact that everyone's like, "Ooh, crazy matchup." Yuri. I think any fight Yuri's in is going to be like, "Whoa, this is a great matchup."
Yeah,
because Yuri just doesn't defend his face
No.
and just throws weird stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think Pereira probably makes the most sense here. I mean, we got Jamal and Khalil fighting in Kansas City in April 26th. I don't think them beating each other makes them deserve it. Rakic has lost to Ankalaev. Jan's still at 3, but he hasn't fought in 100 years. So I feel like you got to run it back probably.
Probably. And they've talked about it, and Uncle Ive said that he's up for it, and they're already in talks for it. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll happen, especially what Alex has done for the UFC, coming in clutch. And,
He deserves it.
yeah, I think he deserves it as well.
All right. Anything else on 313?
No, it was a fun card. A lot of people really did shit on it in the sense, I think it was just they got a bad taste in their mouth with Pereira losing, the ESPN app not working. But really, it wasn't that
Two
bad.
canceled fights the day of the card or
Two
whatever.
canceled fights. Just it really was like a recipe for disaster. But really, the card was fun. I enjoyed watching it, via legal streams.
Yeah.
So, but I enjoyed it. But I wouldn't say I'm just a normal casual fan that enjoys nothing but punching.
No.
So, I think it was a fun one. I'd definitely not the best one we've seen, but it was still a good one, and I enjoyed it.
Yep. All right, we're gonna run through real quick a couple of other events this past weekend. LFA, man, they just little engine that could over there. LFA.
Just keep pumping them out.
They had a card in Vegas. Alex Pereira was actually in the arena, cage side. The only thing really of note here, the light heavyweight belt was on the line. It was actually, I think it was vacant before this, I believe. Yuran Satibaldiev wins by Kimura against Leon Suarez. I think this thing was sloppy. I watched this a little bit.
Yeah.
These two guys were sloppy all over the place. Not the greatest fight in the world. So Samurai MMA. If you listen to last week's episode, I mentioned this. It was our guy Darian Weeks out of Sedalia, Missouri, was going to Canada to fight in a 4-man tournament. It wasn't one night, by the way.
Oh,
we weren't sure,
okay.
but and if you didn't listen, Darian Weeks was in the main event against the hometown guy, Julian LeBlanc. And Johan Lioness, who actually his only win in the UFC was against Darian Weeks, fought Keenan Pattershuk. So Lioness won first round TKO, second round TKO. Side note, Lioness looked like he doesn't pee in USADA's cups anymore. So I'll tell you that. So this main event, Julian LeBlanc versus Darian Weeks. Darian Weeks is winning. I mean, it's not the most exciting fight. Pushing him against the fence, just dominating him. Right at the end of the third round, he gets kneed in the face, right in the eye.
Oh.
And there was a cut over his eye and under his eye. He was bleeding everywhere. And the doctors come in there and they stop the fight. Okay. Now, if you didn't see it, you're like, okay, well, this is a bad cut. It wasn't a good cut, and it was bleeding a lot. But if your cut does not look like Irene Aldana's cut,
yeah, don't stop the fight.
You're not stopping the fight.
Yeah.
So, shame on the Quebec Athletic Commission. I'm sure it's a French saying. I'm sure that's some French words. That's their commission. Shame on you, because yeah, it was a cut above his eye and a cut below his eye. It was bleeding a lot. Yeah, cuts bleed, but they should not have stopped that.
Yeah.
Guess who won? Guess where he was from? Gatineau, Quebec, Canada.
Oh.
Guess where the event was? Gatineau, Quebec, Canada. So ridiculous stoppage.
Yeah,
shame on you.
I hate it when fights are stopped, for a cut. I understand protecting the fighter and stuff, unless it's a cut that is detrimental to the anatomy of the fighter's, body. Just the cut
through your eyebrow and onto your nose.
Yeah,
like Aldana.
Yeah, or you can't see because your eyelid's falling off, or something of that nature. Or I'm seeing straight bone and there's a problem. But if you allow Aldana to keep fighting, who has got an axe wound on her face,
yes,
a couple little cuts shouldn't be a problem. I don't care how bad they're bleeding.
Yeah. Here's the thing. It was above his eye. So, blood in the eye. They always talk about that. it wasn't on his eyebrow. It was above his eyebrow, and it was below his eye, which, and they were like that wide. They weren't huge. They bled like cuts do, but I don't know. I feel like this was I don't necessarily think that they were like, hey, we'll give the hometown guy the win. I think it's more like the doctor doesn't go to MMA fights ever. Yeah. And that's
unfortunate. I wish they would get their own doctors that are around MMA fights all the time and they know what these cuts are and don't think that people are going to die when they see some blood.
Right. And we've seen that with the UFC sometimes too.
Oh, yeah.
But Darian Weeks, I mean, he was up 3-0. Again, wasn't the greatest fight in the world, but he was on his way to winning. He was going to go fight the guy that he lost to in the UFC, Johan Lioness, and it all got ruined because of a doctor. Anyways, one thing I didn't mention about this card when we talked about it last week, Jordan Mean, who fought in the UFC way back in the day, he fought on this card, and he won. And he's actually, I was looking at him earlier, he's not a guy that's just been like losing ever since he's got out of the UFC. Like he's actually...
Okay.
Yeah, he actually got released off of a win against Alex Morono, and then he's 2-2 since. So, shout out to Jordan Mean, old school UFC guy.
Oh yeah.
One fight night 29. Alicia Rodriguez defends her one strawweight Muay Thai belt. Another doctor stoppage. Not gonna lie, I didn't watch the main event here. Don't know exactly what happened, but she defends her belt. And other than that, Cage Warriors had another stoppage in the main event from an eye poke.
Oh, gosh.
The title fight, Liam Gittins and Alessandro Giordano. This event was in Italy, by the way, so a ton of Italian guys on this card. But this was kind of a banger, this fight. They were slugging it out a little bit. Mm-hmm. Not the most technical thing in the world, but a good fight. Third round, Gittins just kind of posts out, pokes him in the eye, and he couldn't continue.
Damn.
They stopped it. And Gittins retains the belt, but it was a no contest. So that's it for the other events this past weekend.
Fun little weekend.
Yeah. There wasn't not like a ton of like big events, but I like LFA. I like one. Cage Warriors is fun. We'll talk about Cage Warriors when we talk about events this coming weekend. Not just one.
Not just one.
All right, on to the news. Raul Rosas returns to face Vince Morales at UFC Mexico City.
Ooh.
Nobody's surprised that Rosas is fighting on the Mexico City card.
No.
Vince Morales, I think, makes sense. Morales, not the best fighter in the world. Somebody that Raul Rosas can probably kind of do what he wants to do with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and Rosas has shown some growth, in his stand-up game and everything, and from his last time we saw him, and he's still doing the damn chewy thing, man. That's his thing, I guess. But no, I like to see guys, at least fighters, grow and not just stay one-dimensional.
Yeah, and I think the Noche fight against Aori Kilang, he didn't look good, and so I think the UFC, rightly so, we're not shooting him up at all.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're kind of, even if he wins, I think they're kind of seeing, okay, he looked good or he didn't look good, and they're kind of basing the next matchup off that.
Yeah.
And they got obviously plenty of time. I'm not a big fan of him, but I think this is how you got to do it. I mean,
yeah, it's gonna, got to grow them slowly. Some guys just aren't able to shoot up that fast.
A couple of guys that had quick wins on that UFC Seattle card a few weeks ago. Modestas Bukauskas and Iwan Kutalaba. They pretty quickly. I mean, that was in March, and this card is in May.
Oh yeah, it's a big turnaround.
Yeah, so 2 months and change. Modestas Bukauskas and Kutalaba fighting each other at UFC 315 in Montreal. Nicholas Dalby, Randy Brown, UFC Kansas City. I like Dalby a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big Norwegian guy that breathes real hard. I love it. Obviously Randy Brown, big tall guy, can strike, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah,
and we'll be there for it.
Oh yeah.
Now the rumor mill, like I said when we started the show, not a ton of fights to talk about. Actual bookings to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, coming off pay-per-views, that's usually not the time they announce a bunch of stuff. But apparently Evloev versus Ortega in the works for May, which is not that far away, so they better get on that.
Yeah. And that one, I know Ortega's, been on a little skid here and everything, but he fought a killer in Diego Lopez last, but we all know Ortega's slick on the ground, and Evloev has shown himself to kind of get himself caught in some shit, and you don't want to get caught in a triangle with Ortega. That's obviously T-City, so that's an interesting one to go, because I think Evloev's not going to be a guy Ortega should really be that afraid of on when they're standing up or anything. So
Evloev is just, he's another one of these Russians that they're just, nobody really cares about.
Yeah.
And he's probably, potentially the best fighter in that division. Maybe. I don't personally think so, but he could be. And they just, they're trying to book him down now. And I don't know. I mean, you could definitely argue that he deserves a title shot.
I think it also has to do with those guys like that just don't want to stay active.
No.
And he was shitting on Diego, you're getting a title fight or whatever you don't even deserve. And Diego's like, I'm fighting guys, way more often than you are.
Yeah.
And I'm fighting, I lost to you and I'm fighting guys. I'm fighting for the title now when you could have been here already, but you take too fucking long to fight. And I agree with him. And, obviously Diego's an exciting fighter to watch. He's pretty well rounded.
Evloev's not.
Evloev's not.
No.
He's just really isn't.
If you're going to be boring and you're going to be a wrestler, you need to at least be Khabib, where you're kind of unintentionally funny in the media and undeniable.
Yeah.
Agreed. Which he might be. He'll get there at some point. He's going to fight for the belt, I'm sure.
I agree.
Apparently, Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier apparently in the works for the BMF title in New Orleans. Will the UFC put the BMF title on a retirement fight? This guy wins the BMF and retires with it.
What has it become vacant? Or what? Yeah.
They don't love doing that type of stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense unless that is their plan. But sure, love to see it, but also it does make me scared for Max. You're fighting. Dustin's retiring, but that guy can still fight.
Yeah.
That guy is not like he's, like a normal vet on his way out. He's choosing to be on his way out. But the guy can still bang with the best.
It's obviously 2-0 Dustin right now.
Yes.
So I think what I hope happens is I hope this does happen. BMF title fight. And Dustin wins and retires his career and retires the BMF belt.
Okay.
Let's just get rid of it.
Yeah. The BMF belt, I feel like those guys got to fight more. That's got to be a.
Well, and also, I guess the UFC could look at it okay, if Dustin wins and takes the BMF belt and retires with it, we can make a BMF title fight in any weight class. It doesn't have to involve Max now.
Yeah.
So that opens it up to.
Okay. And be like, hey, we can do this for the BMF belt, vacant BMF belt. And
they could turn it around and 2 weeks later and put it on some fight, or, not 2 weeks, but they don't have to wait for Max to fight for it.
Yeah.
TKO president, so we were talking about, he was mad about the ESPN messing up thing. He also said that he believes there's no difference between the Apex events and events in an arena from the viewer at home's standpoint, basically, is what he said. Not word for word, but that's pretty much what he was saying. And I guess I understand what he's saying, but it's also we can hear the crowd on TV.
Oh yeah. We can. I think I don't know. I don't agree with it at all. To me, it just, I don't know if it's a ploy to be like, hey, let's get some more Apex events here, or he's responding to maybe some backlash from people saying they don't like the Apex cards, because sure, Apex cards are kind of cool. I'm sure they're cooler when you're in person and it's more intimate, a smaller crowd, but on TV, it's like nobody's there. I mean, you hear a couple people scream or whatever, but you can feel the crowd. Not necessarily like we've been to events. You feel the crowd when you're there, but even on TV, like some big shit's happening. You're watching it. You're like, oh fuck! Like you feel the crowd, the momentum of the crowd, the shift of the crowd, everything.
Mauricio Ruffy knocks out Bobby Green at the Apex. That's horrible. It's not gonna. It's gonna be like, whoa, that was cool, but you're not gonna have the crowd going crazy.
No, it's not nearly as the moment's not as big.
Now everyone always acts like, and by everyone I mean like Mark Shapiro and Dana. It's like they act like staying at the Apex saves them money, and I just don't know how this math adds up. I know there's a lot of fees that I don't know about, but I just don't. Especially when you look at, UFC Kansas City, for example. You go look at those ticket prices.
Oh yeah,
how is it saving them money to not sell tickets? Now, okay, they sell tickets to the Apex. It seats like a couple hundred, 300 or something, or maybe less than that. Even.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm sure some rich guy buys 50 of them for $5,000 a piece or something. Okay, you're making a lot of money there, but like you're filling a whole arena with people that are paying a lot of money for the tickets.
Yeah,
I just don't know how that, and you're also giving your fans an opportunity to see your brand in person, which would make them want to go buy merch, buy the next pay-per-view.
Exactly. I understand, and I know the Apex started with the pandemic when it happened and everything, but the Apex is cool. I maybe keep your fight nights to it or something. Smaller level fights and stuff like that, maybe, or every once in a while, where you use it as you can't get a venue filled or something like that.
Like Almabaya versus Cop.
Yeah.
That card. Put that in the Apex. That's fine. But Seattle, where everything fell apart, the whole card was different, sold out.
Yeah.
They sold the arena out. They sold the NHL arena out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't agree with what he's saying, but I get what he's saying or what he's trying to say, but I don't necessarily agree with it. No. I think you should go to more places, go to different places. There's so many arenas out there. Do it. That's just doing it. All it does is better your product, your brand. You're going to different places, not just major cities. Obviously, the major cities are most people are, most money, stuff like that. But there's arenas everywhere that you could. I bet you, if the UFC came here to Springfield,
people would sell.
Yeah, it would
out.
Be sold out so fast.
Yeah. Now, I've we'll move on because I know we've been on this topic for a minute, but I want them to start going more international. I mean, before COVID, they did an event in Russia. They did events in Poland and all over Europe, everywhere. I know that's another thing that would cost more money to do.
Yeah.
But start going more international because
I don't think
they have so many fighters not from the U.S.
Oh yeah, superstars that are in the making.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't know. I think we don't have enough money, or we're saving money. It's kind of just burnout. Like whatever. You guys are a multi-billion-dollar company now. You got the money.
We know the UFC. They're cheap.
Yes.
They don't pay the fighters enough. They say, hey, you guys have to come here.
Yeah.
Fight in our venue. We're not going to go to you. We're not going to go in your area.
Yeah, and it sucks, and I want them to go further on and go. I mean, the NFL is playing games in Germany, multiple games.
Yeah.
Brazil, shit like that. Let's do more of that. Let's travel. I know there are talks of maybe the whole going to Africa thing, but
there's like barely anybody out of Africa anymore.
Yeah, let's do something.
Izzy, you kind of lost the chance with Izzy.
You blew that fucking chance.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Turkey, Alice Sheikh, and TKO have partnered to launch a new boxing promotion led by Dana White and Nick Khan. So, for those of you who don't know, Turkey Alice Sheikh is a Saudi oil guy.
Yeah.
What do they call him? His Your Excellency or His Excellency. He's like a billionaire or what? I'm assuming.
Probably a trillionaire.
Probably more. And he is doing a ton of big events in Saudi Arabia, boxing events.
Mm-hmm.
All the big stuff going down in boxing is happening in Saudi Arabia now because he's promoting events out there. He's partnering up with TKO, apparently, and bringing in Dana White to run it. And they're trying to make a boxing promotion with the UFC model.
Where the best fight the best.
How's that possible?
Really, I think it is possible, and it's what fans want. But you got to get some big names over here. You got to get some big names going. And once you start getting the big names and you start paying them and getting that train rolling, then I think it could be a great model.
I just don't know how you take the biggest fighters and basically have them relinquish all the leverage to you.
That the way you do that is if you pay them.
You just give them what they want.
Yeah. I think that's what they'll have to do.
Yeah.
It's not going to be ran, I don't think, in the sense of the UFC way, oh, we're going to pay you the bare minimum. You know,
No.
you're going to have to pay these guys, especially if you want to get these big names and you want them to fight the big dogs and not just fight some Joe Schmo guy that only a hardcore boxing fan would know. People want to see the Pacquiao versus Mayweather, you know, in their primes, not 5 years later when one of them's out of their prime. Or, you know, they want to see the big names fight each other, and I love the idea of it, because I love a good boxing fight. Who doesn't? Like, watch the big names. You know, let's do that. But in order to do that, they're going to have to pay, and I think they can with this gajillionaire. You know, he's just going to have to throw some cash.
It's just going to, man, also the legwork that's going to go into, like, you know, this guy comes and fights for us and then he wins. Okay, we're going to have to negotiate the next fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if these guys are going to take, like, 5 fights. Here's your flat rate.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be like, no, if I win 3 of these fights in a row, then I'm going to want way more.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be like in every time that you got to go negotiate with these guys.
Yeah. And maybe they have a big contract, like say a big flat rate. You sign it to, you got to fight 2 fights a year, 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah.
But if you win, you know, say a percentage of these fights, or you got to win at least 2 of them, you know, whatever it may be, you get this bonus thrown on top of it.
They're going to have to work some negotiation magic on these guys.
Yeah, there's going to have to be a lot of negotiating warfare, you know, or judo.
And obviously, this kind of goes without saying, but obviously the idea here is that there's 1 belt per weight class. There's no unification of all 5 belts and all this stuff. So that's the idea.
And I like that too. There's so many fucking belts.
I know.
And promotions. You know, you got the WBO, the BO, TKOs, SCCO, you know.
SEC, ACC.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Pac-10. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't really see how that works because, again, everyone in boxing have huge egos. These managers, these promoters, the fighters, they all want what they want.
Yeah.
And they know what happens. Like, they know how the UFC works. Like, they know, the biggest boxers know, like, if I was a bottom end of the UFC fighter, I'm not making anything, hardly.
Oh, no.
I'm paying for my camp.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to be that.
No, they don't want to do that. There's going to have to be some dough thrown around, especially you're going to have at the beginning. You're going to have to throw some dough at some of these heavy hitters, and then get them to endorse what you're doing to get more fighters.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can be done, but there's going to be some dough thrown around.
There's going to have to be.
Yeah.
Topuria, he just keeps hinting at big news.
Yeah, just being super cryptic with tweets and posts and all sorts of stuff. And
what does this mean? Is the big, like, because obviously everyone is hoping, or the talk is that he's going to fight Islam. He's talking about going to 55. Is this one of those things where it's like, I got huge news and then it's like way underwhelming?
Yeah,
he's fighting like just he's fighting Dan Hooker or something.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that underwhelming, but I don't know.
So-
I think what Dana did come out and say that he would have to fight somebody. He's not going to get
Right.
the right thing. So
Which is so weird to me. I mean, I know we've talked about this kind of already, but like lightweight's pretty stacked. It's got a lot of stars. The UFC, they've always been about like, I want all the money now.
Mhm.
So like, what's a bigger fight right now? Islam, Justin Gaethje, or Islam, Ilia Topuria?
definitely Ilya is the bigger fight. But he did come out and say, but Dana said shit before and gone back on it or changed
Yeah.
his mind. So, I don't think Ilya is going to fight anybody lower than 5. So,
It's just surprising to me that they're like, nope, Ilya's not fighting for the belt when there's not really like a clear-cut number one contender. Gaethje's coming off of 1 win in a row.
Mhm.
Armin Sarukian, they said that he's not getting the shot now because of all the stuff that happened with him. There's not like a for sure guy waiting.
yeah. I mean, maybe he could be fighting Armin.
Yeah.
And they do the Gaethje Islam, and then the winner of Islam or Armin Topuria.
Maybe that's why we've been hearing about this news for weeks now, because they've been waiting to see what happens with Gaethje
Mhm.
and Hooker at the time. Now Fiziev, obviously. So yeah, I don't know. I can see that. I guess. I mean,
That'd be a crazy fight, Ilya and Gaethje.
yeah. Oh, well, I was thinking.
Yeah,
Gaethje-
I'm just saying, like, if that were
Oh, yeah.
to happen, depending on, say, he lost or something, or
Man, I'm an Ilya fan, obviously. I like Ilya Gaethje way better than Ilya Armin.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely, and especially if they're like, okay, this is a contender fight right here.
Yep,
Winner of this gets champ. Gets to fight.
that'd be
the champ.
cool. Islam, he's doing what he likes to do. He's sitting out.
Yeah. He's waiting. Well, I mean, he's cleaned out
Yeah,
everybody pretty much.
they got to have him fight Armin at some point,
Yeah,
but the UFC's mad at Armin, so
Armin likes to break his neck
yeah,
the night before a
with
fight,
Nina.
so, yeah.
and not in the video. All right, that's it for the news. We're gonna talk about this UFC fight night coming up this weekend, but we're not gonna spend a ton of time on it. We're gonna go through it relatively quick. So your story, I'll let you go first on the prelim storyline because it's kind of about the prelims as a whole, right? So
Yeah.
Go
Yeah. Storyline for me is I kind of called it. It kind of seems like this card is just a contender series royale, with a bunch of newcomers and a bunch of guys that have been on the contender series or started their careers through the contender series, and some of them are debuting, and some of them are have had a few fights in the UFC and are gaining success. And was wanting to see if maybe this success continue, and this contender series is going to actually produce maybe some superstars in the future. I mean, we've seen some guys like Andre Lima, Ryan Spann, Waldo Cortez Acosta come in from the contender series and have some success. Start looking good, have rose in the rankings, and some of them have reached their peak and moving to different weight classes now, or doing their thing there. And then you got newcomers like that guy right there, Dr. Nurgozai. I think I butchered the hell out of that name.
okay, yeah, I remember him.
Yeah. Heavy hands, big dude, can knock your block off.
Yep.
He's a young guy. He's debuting. Josias Musasa.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's a skilled fighter. That guy's. I think watch out for him. He might be something.
He fought somebody that was good too, didn't he? I remember thinking this Tanzalovi guy. Yeah, it was a split.
Yeah. No, their fight there, that was a good fight.
Yeah.
From there, that's a newcomer. Also, we got underdogs coming out of here, like Unizi, I think is pronounced like that, or Unici Dubin.
Yeah.
Huge underdog entered contender series and throws an overhand from hell
Yeah.
and knocks out Shannon Clark, who she was supposed to get her ass beat by.
Shannon Clark was the LFA champ.
Yeah. and came out and dropped her ass, knocked her out, and who knows? Eunice might be something, underdog, maybe. I'm not saying she will.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility? Sure. Could one of these guys be a star? A big guy I'm looking into, he's fighting on the main card, Kevin Vallejos.
Yep.
That guy is going to be something. I would be shocked if he wasn't.
He's really good.
That guy can crack. He's a crisp boxer, good kicks, and he's fighting a guy that can get knocked out, who likes to get hit in the face.
Yes.
Nothing against Sung Woo Choi or anything like that, but I'm just thinking, this Contender Series, and we've talked about the UFC's lack of stardom and guys like we were talking about earlier that are retiring or close to retirement, at the latter end of their careers. It's starting to see the fruits of the UFC's labor on searching for stars and having this Contender Series. Which one's going to be a next star? And I think Vallejos is one of them. Andre Lima's there. This Musasa guy's there. And there's many more fighters out there that I didn't even list that are part of this that I think could be part of something big and maybe even a future star. And I think it's just crazy, especially on this card you saw. And it's probably a card to throw a bunch of guys from the Contender Series on to get their name out there, to maybe give it a test and see, okay, let's see how this fucking shit is working.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of them are going to pay off. And I'm excited for it. It makes me sad that some of these guys we grew up watching are coming to the end of their career. But I am excited for the future, and I do believe in the system. Like you said earlier, you see that over years. Stars come and go, legends, Sandlot, whatever, legends never die, stuff like that. I think we could maybe possibly have a couple legends in the making. We never know. There's always somebody that comes out and surprises you. And it makes me excited for the future and to be a fan of the UFC.
Yeah, no, I think the Contender Series, I think we're kind of in a lull of superstars, but they have one season a year, and the thing about the UFC is they kind of have to cycle through everybody as far as getting them fights. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, honestly, if you're on the Contender Series, you probably don't want to get called right away to fight, because that means you're probably going to go to Australia, Cody Steele,
yep,
and you're going to fight Rong Zhu, and you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So you want to kind of wait for them to cycle through and cut people, like we kind of talked about last week, and then you will get a fight probably at the Apex against somebody that you're supposed to be matched up with, right? Early in your UFC career,
for sure. Although I don't think Cody Steele lost a lot of traction or anything.
But
a vet, and
that was kind of like a short notice deal.
True.
And, you want to be like Vallejos, where he's on the main card,
and he's a confident dude. He is all over Twitter saying, "Can't wait for you guys to see my first fight. I'm going to be one of the greatest." I love that attitude. You got to have that in order to be a star. You can't go in there and just be the timid. Most of the time, you can't be the timid, lackadaisical mindset, whatever. I hope both fighters have a good time, kind of thing. You got to go out there and have that killer mindset, and I think Vallejos has it.
Yeah.
He only got that one loss, and he happened to run into it fighting nerds, Lord Silva.
Yeah.
And he was tough, didn't get knocked out, and that's saying something. He tough. You wore some shots in a 3-round fight against him. You'd be undefeated.
Just
probably
save something for your spot on the main card.
Sorry, getting me excited.
No, okay. So real quick, I'll just my prelim storyline is just basically Ryan Spann going from light heavyweight to heavyweight. It's definitely not a rare thing for a fighter to move up or down a weight class. We see it all the time. Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker, everyone does it, and sometimes it goes really well. But the difference between Ryan Spann and those guys is that Ryan Spann's going from 205 pounds to probably 240 plus. It's a way bigger gap between all of those weight classes in this weight class. But here's the thing: we've seen some of the GOATs do this. John Jones, DC, Randy Couture went up and won the belt his first fight.
Yeah.
Different time now, obviously.
Yeah.
But now Ryan Spann, I don't expect to be that. I mean, he's not John Jones or DC.
Sure.
But my big comparison here is Kennedy and Nzechukwu, who we thought of as chinny. I mean, he was kind of chinny at 205.
Mm-hmm.
He goes up to heavyweight. He's 2-0 now. Chris Barnett blew his knee out,
Mm-hmm.
and he knocked out Lucas Brzeski, not the best competition in the world. So TBD on Kennedy. Spann, another guy that's been kind of chinny. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
kind of chinny, kind of can be finished, but has fought like all the best guys at 205. Let's see. Guskov, Anthony Smith, Krylov, Reyes, Johnny Walker. I mean, fought a lot of really good guys.
Mm-hmm. And, he could be chinny, in our sense, because he's cutting a lot of weight.
Right. And that's the thing here. I feel like we've seen with Kennedy come out at 205 at heavyweight and not have to worry about being chinny because he's just way faster than these guys.
True.
And now Spann, his first fight, he gets Waldo Cortez Acosta. Waldo's good.
Yeah.
And Waldo can strike. So we'll see. Spann, I think, kind of underrated grappling, but I don't know. I'm just interested. If he comes out in great shape and looks fast and not soft, I think that's a good sign. That means he did it the right way, and he's probably going to stay at heavyweight and be pretty good. If he looks a little chubby and out of shape, may not be the best thing in the world for him. But
yeah. We'll see. But I mean, you never know. Sometimes people like it may be a Kennedy thing because Ryan Spann's got pop, and he's had some speed. He says he's never trained a day in his life, back then, and now he's training at heavyweight.
He's clearly a good athlete, and heavyweight is obviously a weight class with not the best athletes in the world. So who knows? He could, and there's only 30 of them right now.
Yeah,
right? There's only literally 30 heavyweights in the UFC. So
yeah, so I think that helps, and we'll see. I'm excited for it.
All right, let's move on to the main card. We're gonna go pretty quick through these. So first fight of the main card, we got Su Young Yu versus AJ Cunningham at bantamweight. Now, bantamweight is important here because AJ Cunningham has never fought lower than featherweight. His last fight in the UFC was against Ludovic Klein at lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
He's never been down to bantamweight, at least in a fight. And he's a skinny guy already. Now, if for those of you who don't know who AJ Cunningham is, you need to go back and watch his Contender Series fight, but mostly the story before the fight where they're talking about their past and stuff, because he had a really fucked up childhood and just crazy stuff, abuse. He grew up in Arkansas. Shout out to our neighbors over there in Arkansas. So he's a type of guy that he's been through some shit, and he's a guy that you're not going to break. You're not going to get him to quit. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, you can he has an off switch. Mm-hmm. You can shut him off. Klein did it. The guy that he fought in the Contender Series did it. Who was it? He was in the UFC for a little while. Stephen Nguyen knocked him out. But Cunningham's going to come forward and he's going to bang. Not the most technical guy in the world, but he's going to make it a war. Su Young Yu, road to the UFC bantamweight winner, minus 700 favorite here.
Wow.
UFC debut. No, not UFC debut. Technically the final of the road to the UFC was his debut, technically. Honestly, I couldn't find a ton on this guy, really. His nickname's Jiu-Jitsu.
Jiu-Jitsu.
So he's a good grappler.
Yeah.
He likes to grapple. He's a decent wrestler, but I'm honestly not that impressed with him. He got a little tired in the fight I watched of his. Kind of punches his way out of position a little bit. Minus 700 is ridiculous, but it makes sense when you got a guy coming down to 35 for the first time who's kind of a punching bag. I think we'll probably see Su Young Yu take his back, maybe choke him out. We'll probably see him choke him out, honestly. So I think the minus 700 is a little too wide, but I think it's I get it here. Cunningham, I hope he wins. I'm rooting for him. He's got a cool story. He's out of Arkansas. He's Bryce Mitchell's buddy. You got Bryce in his corner.
Okay.
But I don't I don't love it here. Tough weight cut.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I hope the best for him, but it's a tough weight cut.
Yep. All right.
All right. Let's see what's next. Next fight of the main card, we got Damon, the Monster Blackshear, fighting Cody, the Renegade Gibson. Obviously, should know a little bit about these guys. Cody's got a couple stints in the UFC. He's on the second one here. It's on, I think, a 2-fight win streak. Cody's definitely experienced guy. He's fought some good names. You know, in both stints, he's lost to some guys. I mean, he lost to Ray Borg there out of the UFC there. He lost to Manny Gamburian, Aljo. I believe it was Aljo and Cody's debut. They both fought each other on their debut there. I mean, lost to Manny, Douglas Silva de Andrade, you know, and then Ray Borg there was Eagle FC.
Yep.
He fought him. So, he's lost to Brad Katona on the tough finale.
Yep.
And he's a tough guy. He's pretty well rounded in a sense. He's got good hands. He's quick. On the ground, he can kind of struggle sometimes, but I mean, he's a black belt himself. He does all right. He's not, I would say, overwhelming in any category. I would say, other than, you know, he is a tough guy. He can take a hit. Got a pretty good gas tank. He is going against Damon Blackshear, an athletic dude, who is very good on the mat. Has one of the only twisters, I think, one of 4, I believe, in the UFC.
And fought a week later.
Yeah, and then fought a week later. Blackshear, you know, 15-7. He's well-rounded, very athletic, explosive, very good on the ground, and this guy will snatch your neck. If you give it to him, he will take it. He has shown in his fights that is his thing. He wants to get your back, wants to take your neck. He's even, like, I was watching interviews and everything. 10 wins by sub. He's never been sub. Most of his losses are decisions. This guy will want to take your back and take your neck. I think we're probably going to see a decision I think Blackshear's going to win either by decision or he's going to sub him.
Yep.
I think he's just a little too athletic and a little bit good on the ground for Cody. Although Cody's tough and he's shown he's been able to withstand a lot of shit, and you know he might be riding this. You know, he is the older fighter.
He's 37.
Yeah, so he's at the latter end. But he feels confident. I watched a couple interviews with Cody and everything. Obviously, he said he's been bringing in a ton of black belts where they've been practicing nothing but having his back and everything. But
I think your path to victory with Blackshear is knocking him out.
Yeah.
I mean, Montel Jackson did it in like 18 seconds.
Yeah. You're going to have to put some hands on him, but I don't know if Cody's got the pop or, you know, the quickness to get to him. So I think Blackshear gets it done via either decision or he subs him.
I think better athlete, better grappling.
Yeah.
All right. Next fight on the main card, Alexander Hernandez versus Kurt Holobaugh. 2 guys that have been around. I mean, we talked about Cody Gibson with 2 different stints. I'll one-up you. Kurt Holobaugh, 3. 3 stints. Now, you know, the first one technically was just 1 fight, but went on to, let's see, lost to Steven Seiler in 2013. That was his first stint. But obviously has gone on to compete on the Contender Series and then also win the Ultimate Fighter, which is crazy. Another guy he's old. He's 38, but he's a bully. Gets in your face, bullies you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Alexander Hernandez, another guy, been around for a long time. If you're not familiar with him, he literally came in short notice and knocked Beneil Dariush out in his debut.
Yep.
Which may not surprise you now, but you know at that point Dariush was really good. Dariush is still top 10 lightweight
For sure.
Knocked him out his debut, and it's kind of struggled ever since. He's kind of a tweener. He'll fight 55, fight 45, kind of back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the the Cowboy one, I mean, everyone remembers, Hernandez talked a bunch of shit,
Yeah.
and then Cowboy head kicked him and knocked him out. And it's kind of been win one, lose one ever since. I know you're a Hubbard guy. He beat Hubbard by split decision. I don't think that's a great win, honestly.
No. He's another guy that, had his stint with the UFC and
out, Ultimate Fighter back in, And so yeah, Hernandez 7-7 in the UFC, Holloway 2-5. Now, to me, Holloway's better than 2-5. He's fought some tough guys, and really, I think they're both missing something in their game that would really help them out. Holloway cannot stop a takedown.
Yeah, no, he really can't.
His style is go forward and bully you and beat you up. He's really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But going forward, you go right into those takedowns, and he has a hard time with people that can take you down. Now, Hernandez, on the other hand, I feel like he's just a decent wrestling game away from being really good because he's a guy that gets bullied. People can bully him, and kind of question if he wants to be in there anymore. And if he could take them down while they're coming towards him, that would really help him a lot.
Oh, definitely.
So that's what makes this fight interesting, because Holloway's going to go forward. He's going to get in his face. He's going to try to bully him. Can Hernandez take him down? Holloway, literally, I'm pretty sure it's like 29% takedown D.
Yeah.
But Hernandez is not a big wrestler himself. He can take people down, but not known for that by any means.
Yeah, he kind of falls in love with standing up and want to throw heavy hands.
And I mean, I don't really understand the odds here. Minus 192 Hernandez, plus 167 Holloway. I think if you're a bettor, probably stay away because you can't trust either of these guys really. Yeah. But I think Hernandez really shouldn't be minus 192 against anybody.
Yeah.
And I think Holloway's he's pretty live to bully Hernandez and make him not want to be there anymore. So I'm probably going to lean Holloway, but I'm not real confident in that. So
yeah.
All right.
Too shabby. All right, here we go. This one I'm excited for just because I'm a fan of big fan of one of these guys. One of them, Contender Series guy I was talking about earlier, Kevin El Chino Vallejos versus Sung Sting Woo Choi.
Yeah. I've always liked the nickname Sting, but it doesn't really work with his name that well, but it is a cool name.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Vallejos 11-1, we talked about earlier. His one loss is to Lord Silva. I don't think that's, especially now, too much to really give him shit for.
It's aged pretty well.
Yeah. And it was a decision. He didn't get knocked out, didn't get starched like most everybody else does when they fight Gene Silva. He's a tough guy, very crisp hands. I mean, just a technical striker, boxer guy that loves to get in your face. He pushes the pace. He'll push you, get you against the cage, and just try to unleash the hell on you. Tons of power. I mean, could probably knock out Thor if he wanted to. The guy is just he's great. I think he's going to be something in the UFC. My only downfall with him is sometimes throws caution to the wind and he leaves himself to get hit, which Silva showed. Now after he lost to Silva, he went and fought 2 more times and knocked some guys out and everything and showed what he can do. But I think he's grown as a fighter. He's a very confident fighter. I love it.
23 years old.
And he's young as shit. Yeah. And I don't know. I like him. From Argentina. I like seeing that, representation. I'm excited for him. He's fighting a guy in Woo Choi. He's 11-7. He's 32 years old. He is a guy who is long. He's definitely going to be the longer fighter, but he doesn't necessarily use it very well.
Scrap.
Yeah, he loves to just scrap, like you said, just get hit, essentially. He leaves himself open to get cracked a lot, and you cannot do that against Vallejos.
No.
This guy is long, and when he does use his kicks, and when he gets to the ground, he can be kind of dangerous, but I think he's fallen in love with the hands and throwing dick beaters. I mean, just getting after it. So, but I don't know. I think this is definitely UFC said, Vallejos, we see something in you. Here's a guy that likes to get hit, and we know you can knock out.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to happen with Vallejos. I think he's going to get in here, and it might even be a first round knockout.
Big height difference.
Yes.
6 foot, 5'7". But Sting's another guy he's kind of has like big tells, big movements when he comes in, and I think Vallejos may be able to
I think
piece him up.
Vallejos is going to get in there, and Vallejos is smart. He'll let you, like you said, he's got those big movements. Wu Choi does, and he'll let him do it, and he'll slip and absolutely fucking rip.
Yeah,
and
he's for those of you who have never watched him, he's like very traditional boxing.
Yeah, it's pretty refreshing to watch. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. You don't see. I mean, it's really not. It's not like MMA striking. It's like straight up boxing sometimes. Like it's obviously he does it in MMA, but it's one of the most traditional boxing styles there probably is.
Oh yeah. Yep, I think Kevin Vallejos gets it done probably mid first round, and that's going to be the start of I think a long career for him. As long as I think he will. He's young. He's going to clean up, getting hit part, and being a little bit more crisp. Because sometimes he leaves himself open by trying to get that knockout. So I think he'll clean it up, and he's going to be around a while.
All right, we got the co-main too.
All right, this one is, I think, will be a fun one as well. We've got Elizeu Capoeira Zaleski dos Santos. What a fucking name. Okay, most people know him just Zaleski dos Santos. Heavy hands, crazy striker, wants to get up in your grill. Has 15 wins by knockout. Will absolutely keep pushing forward just like a Terminator. Tons of experience. Been around a while. Been a minute. He actually is pretty decent on the ground himself, but he loves to strike. He loves to bang. And he's going against Chidi Bang Bang Njokuani, 24-10. Also a guy who's been around a while. Has fought some big names. Chidi, good in the clinch. Very long fighter. Has pop. Honestly, I could see him initiating the clinch against Zaleski because of the pressure that Zaleski's going to be putting on. And when he does, just like I believe against the last fight against Jared Gordon, big hitter guy, brute, comes at you.
Jared Gooden,
sorry, not Gordon.
Yeah.
Gooden. Did the same thing with him. Used his clinch, elbows to hell. Has length. He can stay on the outside with him, but I think he might initiate a clinch. I see that going that way. I actually am going not with going against the grain here. I'm going with Chidi, thinking that I think the game plan should be clinching with this guy. With Zaleski dos Santos, we have seen him in the clinch kind of struggle with some guys that use the clinch to stop his pressure, get him against the cage, and use elbows. So, I mean, Chidi is the underdog here. I think it might come up a little bit when it gets closer to fight time, but
minus 180 is Zaleski.
Yeah, so I'm going with Chidi. A lot of people are going with Zaleski because he is the big heavy hitter, tons of knockouts, exciting guy to watch.
Chidi's big. Obviously, the big kryptonite's always been the grappling.
Yeah.
If you put him on his back, Zaleski can do that. He's kind of more like known for, I think, defensive grappling. He's fought a lot of wrestlers, and he's been able to do pretty well against some of them. So, yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't know. He may want to bang with Chidi. Bang, bang.
Yeah, bang with Chidi.
Probably shouldn't do that, but he's got some weird knockout. Well, I think he doesn't have a knockout over like Sean Strickland or somebody.
Yes, he spinning. I think it was a wheel kick
That's what I
to
was gonna say.
Strickland's face.
The capoeira kick
Yeah.
from Capoeira. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Cheaty's he's one of the best clinch strikers.
Yeah, and I think that's his path to victory.
Yeah.
Especially with the amount of pressure that Zaleski dos Santos brings, I think that's the way he should go.
Heck yeah, that's a good one. See, I mean, we kind of mentioned this, not the biggest names, and not definitely not like last weekend, but that's a fun fight.
Oh yeah,
we got a lot of fun fights on this one. Speaking of fun fights, we got a rematch of a fun fight: Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze 2. Now, Roman Dolidze is not a fun fighter anymore. I don't know what happened to him, dude. Because going into this, he had won I think he'd won 4 in a row in the UFC. When I say going into this, I'm saying going into the first fight against Vettori. He was 4. Well, 4 in a row in the UFC, and he was finishing. Knocked out Dawkins in the first round. Knocked out Hawes in the first round. He had the calf slicer against Hermanson TKO from the back, like the craziest thing I've ever seen. So Dolidze was feeling himself going into this Vettori fight, and you could tell by watching it because he was going forward and he was like talking to him and like flexing and stuff and throwing a ton of volume, even though Vettori on the numbers still out-volumed him, but that Vettori's a volume guy.
Yeah.
But Vettori won the first one, unanimous decision. I thought it was wrong. I thought Dolidze should have won. I watched it back today again, and I still thought he should have won. But since this fight, Dolidze had this stinker against Imavov for 5 rounds.
Yeah, that was a weird.
Now, Imavov didn't look that good to me either, and I'm a big Imavov fan. Dolidze only clinched. Like, he only wanted to push him against the fence. He wasn't trying to shoot takedowns. He wasn't trying to strike. He just wanted to hold him against the fence.
Yeah.
Now, he did get clipped pretty bad in the first round, and I guess he said in one of his next fights that he was like on autopilot the rest of the fight, apparently. Okay. But then, the Anthony Smith fight, he's real gun shy against Anthony Smith. He wins a decision. Anthony kind of falls down. He literally just falls down, and Dolidze is just on his back for a whole round and stuff. Holland with the rib injury. Point being is that Dolidze had all this aura there for a minute and was a guy that was kind of knocking people's heads off.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's he doesn't want to strike. He's super low volume, doesn't want to strike. He's not a real great wrestler either. I don't know what happened because I was a kind of a Dolidze believer there for a while, and it's just. He's won 2 in a row. Anthony Smith up at 205. Kevin Holland going up to 85. I don't know if those are really.
I don't know. Maybe he got a little gun shy after getting dropped in the.
It's just weird. I don't know. It's so weird because he was kind of, like I said, he was knocking people's heads off with the striking. Obviously, Vettori, he's been around forever. He's fought everybody.
Mm-hmm.
He's been off for a while. He hasn't fought since June 17th, 2023 against Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier literally broke middleweight significant strike records. The record for most significant strikes landed in a fight against Marvin Vettori in that fight. So I do really I like the fact that Vettori took some time off. He's kind of lost to the guys above him, beat the guys below him, had a fight where he got a significant strike record broken on his head.
Mm-hmm.
Take some time away. Will he change anything? Probably not.
Yeah, he's pretty stuck in his ways.
But this is another one where it's kind of... Now, Vettori is the favorite in this one. He's minus 170, plus 145 to Dolidze. I'm actually a little surprised by that because Vettori's had the layoff. Dolidze's won 2 in a row, and the first fight was super close. Probably Dolidze should have won. But I'm not really sure what's going on with Dolidze anymore. I don't really. He just doesn't seem to have that killer instinct. I think this will be close again, probably, but it's also 5 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I think that helps Vettori a little bit.
Yeah, he's been there, done that.
I think we'll probably see again. The first fight, Dolidze went forward and wanted to strike. I think he's going to want to clinch. He likes to clinch now. And he's not very high volume, so I kind of think we could see Vettori really out-volume him a lot here, and I think the championship rounds will really favor Vettori. So I like Vettori in this one to win. It's kind of a weird rematch. You know, it's not really like when we were like, got to see again, but it makes sense. They're both kind of not sure what to do with them,
exactly,
type thing. So it'll be fun. Vettori is always fun because he's not the most defensive guy in the world, and he throws a lot of punches.
Yeah,
doesn't really like to wrestle unless he's fighting Izzy.
Yeah, tough dude.
Dude.
He can and he'll keep coming forward. You know, he's shown he's got a gas tank. He'll keep going.
Dolidze does like to grapple, but he's not much of a wrestler. He's not a great wrestler.
Yeah,
he's if the fight just happens to find its way to the mat, he can choke you out and stuff like that. But so yeah, I don't know. It'd be a fun main event. I think Vettori may force it to be more fun than Dolidze would like it to be.
Yeah,
but
I think it's a good little card. I mean, especially coming off pay-per-view. I think it's definitely more fun seeing the young people, young pups come up and see what they can do. Definitely showcase their talents. And like I said earlier, maybe we find a star in the making. I think I have my eye on one of them at least for sure. There's a couple there that do intrigue me. So
I like Andre Lima and Daniel Barres. I like both of them. They're fighting each other in this one. That'll be fun. Josias Musasa, he'll have the whole country. Was it?
He's fighting a tough guy. So
the Congo, is that where he's from?
A guy who fought on Tough, I should say.
Yeah. So Musasa from the Congo, was it Democratic Republic of the Congo? So he'll have that whole fan base on his side. So that'll be good. All right, I'm gonna run through real quick some of these other cards, these other events happening this weekend. So Cage Warriors, not just one, but two events for Cage Warriors.
All right.
The first one's on Friday on UFC Fight Pass. Cage Warriors 184 in Manchester, United Kingdom. Main event, lightweight title, George Hardwick versus Lucas Clay. So Hardwick lost to Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi on the Contender Series in 2023. He's been the champ over there in Cage Warriors since 2022. So that's for a promotion like that sends a lot of guys to the UFC. I feel like 2022 to now is a long time to be a champ over there. So Lucas Clay, fighting for the belt, is from St. Charles, Missouri.
Shout out St. Charles.
Beat Mike Breeden by a split decision back in the day. Lost to Trey Ogden by unanimous decision. All three of his losses are decision losses, never been finished. So I'm interested to see how the St. Charles, Missouri guy does out there in Manchester. Also on Friday, CFFC 140 in Philadelphia. Also on Fight Pass. Yaroslav Amosov versus Curtis Millender at 183 pounds?
Really?
Question mark? It literally said 183 pounds. So obviously, if you don't know, Yaroslav Amosov, former Bellator champ, was 27-0 going into his last fight. Got finished by Jason Jackson, who's kind of had a resurgence in his career. This is his first fight since then. Curtis Millender, 3-3 in Bellator, 3-2 in the UFC, 3-0 in LFA, 0-2 in PFL.
Dang.
Fought in all those promotions.
Been around.
And his last fight, Millender's last fight, was in Gamebred MMA, bare knuckle, and he lost to Jesse Ronson, another UFC vet. And then other than that, vacant lightweight title, 8-1 Jesse Roberts versus 4-0 Omar RZGOEV. Rizgoev.
All right.
Also on Friday, Tough Enough 142 in Las Vegas. Also on UFC Fight Pass. Main event, featherweight title, 12-2 Jamie Siraj out of Canada versus Diego Brandao.
Really?
29-22.
Wow.
So Diego Brandao was on a 6-fight skid in ACA in Russia. Six fights in a row. ACA in Russia, lost all of them. Since he left ACA, he's won 4 of his last 6. So is he back?
I was just about to say, what a fall from grace.
Is he going to win the Tough Enough featherweight title this weekend?
Maybe. Some of these guys, give it up, man. Just go retire, do what you got to do, and maybe he's doing it because he has to.
Well, he did just have a grappling match. His last thing he did was a grappling match against Chad Mendez,
Oh, okay.
and he lost. But still, I mean, if you're getting something like that, then
Yeah.
he must be somewhat relevant. So.
Yeah.
Also on the main card, 9-2, Kanan Kawahai out of Hawaii versus 15-6-2, Marlon Gonzalez. Kanan has fought twice in the Contender Series. Lost a unanimous decision to Chase Hooper in 2018 and got wheel kick knocked out by Jonas Belharino
Ouch.
in, I think, 2023. I didn't write that one down, but so he's 0-2 in the Contender Series. Unfortunate. Hawaiian guy that, you know, Hawaiians have a great track record in the UFC, so would have been nice to see him in the UFC. But Cage Warriors 2.0 on Saturday. Cage Warriors 185, also in Manchester. The vacant flyweight title on the line. 5-2 Tom Creasy versus 6-3 Connor Wilson. 10-0 Luke Riley versus 9-2 Teriel Abasov. So Luke Riley fought in the Contender Series against somebody, or was supposed to fight in the Contender Series against somebody we talked about earlier, Kevin Vallejos.
Okay.
The last Kevin Vallejos Contender Series fight, a guy stepped in short notice for 10-0 Luke Riley because Luke Riley had a visa issue.
Oh, shit.
Which has got to be crushing because now he's back to fighting the Cage Warriors.
Yeah.
Could have fought in the Contender Series.
I'm sure he'll be back.
Yeah, he's 10-0. He's young. And another than that, Eternal MMA 94 in Australia. So this is Saturday morning at like 3 a.m. here. Also on Fight Pass, middleweight title 6-3 Darcy Bindi versus 4-2 Matt Myers, and that's it for the other events this coming weekend.
We got some good fights coming.
Thanks for watching the show. Let us know what you think of any of the topics we covered tonight. Let us know what you think of the Alex Pereira Magomed Ankalaev decision and everything else that we talked about. All our socials will be in the description below. Anything else to say, Chad?
No, I'm excited for what this little card we got going on. Obviously, a little step down from the pay-per-view before it, but I'm excited because you're going to see a lot of newcomers and young guns, go at it and maybe make a name for themselves. So I'm excited.
I love these types of cards.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Peace.